not helping. I'm Elizabeth Hetrick. I'm a family nurse practitioner. I also have a background in nutrition and exercise physiology. I'm joined today by Elizabeth Goose Cooper. Goose is a registered dietitian and a physician's assistant. And we're also here with Jumpstart MD's outreach coordinator. So in the back corner, we've got Colleen Geiger. She's a wealth of information, so she can help to answer some questions at the end of the presentation. Has anybody in the room heard of Jumpstart MD before? We're on the radio, we're on TV. Some people might know friends or family members who've done the program. So Jumpstart is a medically managed wellness practice in the Bay Area. We go as far north as Greenbrae and Marin, and south to Monterey, Los Gatos, and we have clinics in the East Bay, so Piedmont and Walnut Creek. Can anyone in this room relate to some of the comments on the slide?
Oh my God.
Yes. So we have patients coming in for their first visit, and we hear over and over again, what happened? What happened to my mood? What happened to my sleep? I can't sleep at nighttime. What happened to my body, my butt, my belly? What happened to my sex drive?
But you got the wrong model there.
It's so hard.
She's in the Asian program.
What happened to my labs? So my blood sugar, my cholesterol levels. We hear over and over comments like, I'm a shadow of my former self, I don't recognize myself, my clothes don't fit anymore, I can't find anything in my closet, I feel flat, my mood is depressed, I haven't weighed this much since I was 9 months pregnant, and I've never had high cholesterol or high blood sugar levels before. So we have solutions at Jumpstart. We have solutions for sensible, sustainable weight loss and bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. During the first half of the presentation, I'll talk about weight loss, and in the latter half, Goose will talk about the bioidentical hormone replacement. And you can do one more forward.
Okay.
So we're going to kind of look at the background of nutrition in the country. Over the last 50 years, the prevalence of obesity has risen dramatically. During this time period, there were some dietary recommendations that came into place where we villainized fat as a nutrition community. We took fat out of a lot of the foods that we were eating. We replaced fat with carbohydrates. So we started eating exponentially more calories from carbohydrates, dropped our fat content, but waistlines still grew bigger. This change in dietary patterns not only increased our rates of obesity, but we've seen a similar increase in chronic diagnoses such as diabetes. This map shows increases in our country over the last 20 years.
Wow.
As the map is getting darker, waistlines are getting bigger, and our country is getting sicker. And if you go to the next slide, if these trends continue, these are projections. So projections for 2030, 15 years, half of our country is obese.
Do you have a breakdown by gender?
We don't have, not on this. No, not a breakdown by gender. We are eating literally the deadliest diet in the world. It's the nutritional equivalent to cigarettes. It's created a public health disaster both here and abroad because we're exporting these foods as well. The scope of which the world arguably has never seen before. An unhealthy weight can be linked to virtually every disease. But in addition to cancer and high blood pressure, hypertension, osteoarthritis, you'll see mental health disorders are on here. So we can all understand that as waistlines increase or chronic disease comes into play, self-confidence decreases, anxiety and depression can ensue. This graph shows that as body mass index increases and disease piles on, so too does level or rate of mortality. And then on the next slide, on a corporate level, so we're speaking predominantly of individuals today, but if we have any leaders of corporations in the room, this is very, very costly. So healthcare expenses with an individual with metabolic syndrome, so one of the conditions most commonly linked to obesity, cost twice as much as someone without metabolic syndrome. If that person acquires type 2 diabetes, they cost 3 times as much, and when complications of diabetes ensue, they cost 5 times as much for a company. So, good news, we have a solution, we have individual solutions, we have corporate solutions. All too often, though, we're treating with pills and procedures. And there's a place for that. But when 75% of our chronic diagnoses can be treated with lifestyle change, we there's the argument that we're over-medicating and we're under-treating our country because we're not getting the root cause of the problem. So instead of treating with pills and scalpels, why not treat with forks and knives? Let's let food be our medicine. So here's a chart. This is demonstrating macronutrient ratios of typical American diet. So typical American eating about half of our intake from carbohydrate sources. So think about grains and sugars, also fruits and vegetables. There's carbohydrate and dairy products. 33% or 1/3 is coming from fat, often pro-inflammatory fats like omega-6 fats. And that leaves only 15% to come from healthy protein options. So if we were to poll 1,000 people walking down the street today, which one's the healthier option up here?
Goat.
Yeah.
I would argue that they're virtually equivalent.
Yeah.
They have about the
Yeah.
same sugar
Yeah.
content
Yeah.
between the two of them.
Yeah.
On the next slide. How about here? So how many people would know that a Snickers bar often has a lower glycemic index than a slice of whole wheat bread?
Yeah.
Whole wheat bread, let alone the giant bagel here. How many people know that the average American eats over 130 pounds of sugar per year?
Yeah.
This is completely historically unprecedented. Look back to 200 years ago. This is a 17-fold increase in sugar intake. All right, it's not just what we think of though. It's not just cookies and cakes. So Goose and I would agree, we have a lot of patients who come in for their first visit and they say, but I eat healthy. I had yogurt this morning for breakfast. I watched my calories. This is 140 calories, arguably a low-calorie food. Sugar content is 21 grams. The second ingredient on the list is sugar. So even foods we consider healthy right now in modern America aren't necessarily that way. 80% of the 600,000 foods in the grocery store have added sugar. So we are all exposed to this. So at Jumpstart, we coach our members to renegotiate their macronutrient content. So we change the level of macronutrients coming in. We decrease carbohydrate sources from 50% that we saw in the other graph down to 10 to 20% of intake. We boost natural proteins to 20 to 40%, and then we enhance healthy fats. We are not afraid of fat. There's lots of research in the last 20 years that helps to debunk the myths of the past in relation to fat. So we increase intake of healthy fats, avocados, olive oil, nuts and seeds. These are the foods we encourage members to avoid while they're in the weight loss phase of the program. So polyunsaturated fats, which have negative health repercussions, partially hydrogenated vegetable oils and industrialized oil like soybean and corn oil, grains and rice, baked goods and sweets, starchy vegetables like potatoes, and then sugars. This is because not all calories are created equal. So when I was in graduate school for nutrition, we had this mantra: a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. All that matters is you expend more calories in a day than you take in, you lose weight. It's simple math. It's not that simple. The response for your body is very different depending on what you feed it. So when we go back to the American diet, the ratios that the current Americans are eating, we have a poor response. When we eat high levels of processed carbohydrates, our body actually secretes more of the hormone insulin. Insulin is a great fat storage hormone. So we accumulate fat, and it leads to chronic illness. When we renegotiate those proportions and we decrease carbohydrate intake, we have a better insulin response, and we're able to burn fat for fuel instead of accumulate it. That leads to a state of chronic health. So to get just a little bit more specific, on the right-hand side in the green, we recommend a diet that's lower than 50 grams of carbohydrate in a day. When you eat under 50 grams of carbohydrate in a day, insulin response is very low, and we can move from a fat storage place to a fat burning place. When we eat more carbohydrate, we secrete more insulin, we move the carbohydrate into cells, and we store fat. So where would we rather be? And then one more important point, it's a little controversial, one more important point that we discuss at Jumpstart with our members is the way that we use exercise. So a couple favorite quotes: you can't outrun your mouth. John taught me, 6-pack abs are not created in the gym, they're created in the kitchen. So Of course, exercise, it's healthy. It's great for cardiac health. It's great for mental well-being. It's a great weight maintenance tool, and it's a lousy weight loss tool. So we use it as a wellness tool predominantly, and we use foods as our weight loss mechanism. So, you can go one more slide too. In addition to eating the right portions of the right whole, fresh, nutrient-dense foods, decreasing carbohydrate intake, tempering fears of healthy fats, and exercising for wellness, we focus on other healthy behaviors like eating 5 times a day, drinking plenty of water, sleeping, planning and preparing foods in advance. And together, these are pieces to the holistic, optimized well-being puzzle. And when these pieces come together, it works. We see really nice results. So I'm going to read some of these. But people completing our program lost 3 to 4 times more weight than those on other programs or using applications. They lost 15% of body weight and 30 pounds in 3 months. Regained less than a pound after a complete year in the program. And then positive externality, many of our patients noticed reduced effect on weight loss conditions like diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol. And they can say things like this. I have so much more energy, my labs have improved, this is my new lifestyle, this isn't just a diet, and I fit into clothes that I haven't fit in years. So for another piece in the puzzle, Goose is going to introduce you to the idea of hormone optimization.
I thought Betsy.
Question time!
Yeah, I thought Betsy was going to take a lot longer, so I wouldn't have to. Yeah, please, ask Betsy.
So I completely subscribe to that diet of low carb, and I've been on anabolic diets even where I'm 20 grams less than 20 grams per day, except maybe on the weekends.
Sure.
To not cause that insulin surge, and that's when I lost the most fat off my body ever, was the low carb diets. However, and it's supposed to help with cravings too, since carbs are like a drug or like a addiction of some kind. But I still, do want to have my sugars and carbs. Is there anything else that can help me with controlling that? Maybe this hormone session next is really to help that. It's like the
My
mental.
first answer was prayer. We at Jumpstart, we use prescription FDA approved medications to help with carbohydrate cravings. People comfortable while they're eating less carbs and eating smaller portions during weight loss. So that's an option. It's not a forever option, but it's a short-term option that we have. But the idea is the less carbs you eat, the less carbs you crave. And I like your maintenance method of strict during the week and party time on the weekend. It works, right? For a lot of people, that's a good strategy because their weeks are really structured.
When I did less carbs, I lost weight, I got to ketosis, did all that kind of fun stuff, but hello depression. And it's never been something that's been chronic in my life or anything along those lines. But as soon as I got my carbs back, all good.
How long did you feel that way? How long did you have the change in mood?
Months.
Months.
Yeah, it was not pretty. Part of it's also the whole perimenopausal stuff that was also going on too. But once I got my carbs back, I was much happier, and I found that affected my moods greatly. Was having to have a certain amount of carbs, but it didn't help with the whole weight loss aspect either. So, and I do find that I do cascade in regards to my carb. And it is an addiction, and then I'll sit there and go, oh, too much, and then cut it all off, and then lose weight and not be happy again, and go through that cycle.
So trying to find that middle ground is challenging.
Without that, I don't know.
Yes.
Can I just ask a question about fats?
Yeah.
What does a normal portion of fat look like? Because I can eat a whole avocado easy. That doesn't seem healthy, but based on that circle.
That's a good question. So portion sizes that we recommend are slightly smaller than that. So like half of an avocado. We talked about tablespoon of olive oil. There's fat naturally occurring in a lot of the other foods we're eating. So if you think of Greek yogurt, meat sources, cheese, dairy, you'll get naturally occurring fat from that. So in terms of normal portion of fat in a weight loss mindset, we limit to several servings, 3 or 4 servings in a day of those smaller portion sizes, and then include the naturally occurring.
What about nuts?
So nuts are one of the healthy fat sources, monounsaturated fat sources, almonds, which can be helpful. One is a weight loss tool, but two is can give us a positive response in terms of like cholesterol levels. So monounsaturated fats can improve LDL or bad cholesterol, and improve, so decrease, and then increase HDL cholesterol. We do limit portions because they tend to be what we call a trigger food. It's hard to stop at a certain amount. So we say, for pistachios, for example, 20 in a day. Almonds is smaller, like 12 in a day.
And all nuts aren't equal, right? Cashew nuts are not so good for you?
We still keep cashews in the equation. It's just different servings and different portions of different types of nuts.
I didn't see wine or alcohol at all on the list.
I like you.
We were hoping that would just slip right by.
Nobody would even ask about it. I used to manage our practice in Marin, in Greenbrae, and that's the furthest north that we go. So I had vineyard owners coming in to see me. I cannot take wine away from the owner of a vineyard. We cannot completely get rid of wine. It's about moderation. It's about moderation.
Yeah.
Some people keep in more than that. It's important to their lifestyle. They might lose a little less weight because they drink a little more wine. But it's each individual member's weight loss program. And if they're okay keeping their wine and losing a little less week to week, it works.
Does that metabolize like a sugar? Or
It's preferentially metabolized before fat.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not that, as you age, something has changed. And obviously a lot has changed. But, I can weigh the same amount at 20 as I do at 58, but the composition of it has changed. And so the BMI, or which they don't even really use much as a measure, basic measure, but when you get your body fat measured in one of the scientific ways, it's amazing how at the same weight I'm now on the borderline of being obese than I was at the same weight as a 25-year-old. So is the correlation that as you get older you have to be thinner? You should be getting thinner instead of staying the same?
I think I would just pay you after, because that's the most perfect question to ask going into the bioidentical hormone part of the talk. No, you shouldn't weigh less. What the focus should be is maintaining your muscle mass, and how you do that. And everybody in here, you probably feel like a gerbil on the treadmill at some point. But how you do it is adequate protein, and also getting your hormones optimized. Honestly, because as you age, all of our hormones decrease. So testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, they all decrease. This is what's expected. This is what happens. It's normal. That doesn't mean that we like it or that we have to live like that. So testosterone helps maintain muscle mass, and so that's one of the key advantages to the hormone replacement therapy. So, but yes, your body composition does change. So women start to lose muscle mass in their mid-30s, and then it just continues to decline. So it's really hard for women to gain muscle. So part of what we do in the weight loss phase is we make sure you have adequate protein, and we check your body comp on a fancy machine called an InBody, and we monitor it like a hawk, because it's too hard for you to put the muscle back on. Like people think, okay, I'll just focus on losing body fat and then I'll worry about my muscle. Nope, you can't afford to lose your muscle mass. So all of that is why you feel different.
So then adding on to that, what is the, how many grams of protein should you be eating so that you could measure something in order to maintain the muscle mass? Is there a calculation?
You want me to do that? Yeah. Yes, it's 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. So actually, most of us are used to eating way more protein than we need. We overshoot it. But if your life looks like this, where you ate half a piece of toast off your kid's plate as you were running out the door, and then you were running late for your work, and all you had in your pocketbook was a bag of gummy bears, so that was your lunch. Like that's, you haven't had any protein all day, and I think that the most convenient foods are high in carb and low in protein, the prepackaged convenient foods. And so But when you sit down to eat supper, and you see a chicken breast that looks like a reasonable portion, it's usually 6 to 7 ounces, and that alone would give you somewhere around 50 to 60 grams of protein. So, if you were to eat protein throughout the day, you'd have to mentally adjust your notion of what a portion looks like. But it's not hard to get adequate protein, but you have to be cognizant of it.
So 50 to 60 grams is what your target rate is.
No, I'm just saying that let's say that you, for simple math, so it's 2.2 pounds per kilogram. So let's just say that you're 200 pounds, call it 100 kilograms. You need 100 grams of protein. If you weigh 150 pounds, again, simple math, I'm just rounding, let's call it 70 grams of protein. So, you can do the calculation. And then if you think in terms of grams, you can read food labels, but if you're buying chicken, it's not going to have grams on there. It's going to be presented to you in weight, right, by ounces or pounds. So I don't want to belabor your numbers, but 1 ounce of cooked protein is 7 grams of protein.
Does it matter how you space your protein? Can you eat it all at night, or do you have to eat it during the day?
That's a great question. Interestingly, it does matter. So if you eat an excess of protein in one sitting, you go to a steakhouse and you have a good meal. If you eat basically more than 4 ounces of protein at a time, about 50% of the extra protein gets converted to glucose, which means here comes insulin, here comes fat storage. So yeah, you can definitely overeat protein in one sitting. So it's much better to space it out.
What did you say just before that?
7 grams of protein.
Yeah.
7 grams of protein equals
1 ounce of cooked protein.
Eggs factor in.
1 egg is 7 grams, yep. The egg is the perfect food, by the way. Don't eat the egg whites, eat the whole thing.
Yeah.
Half the protein in an egg is in the yolk. Eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it. Yeah.
What are the carbs that I should be eating 20% of the time? Sorry.
what are good carbs?
Yeah, I'm not clear on that.
During the weight loss phase, we limit carbohydrate sources to fruits and vegetables. So we pull grains, especially refined carbohydrates. We pull sugars, and then starchy vegetables, so like white potatoes. During that phase, during weight loss, we limit to fruits and vegetables. For health and weight maintenance purposes, we pull whole grain sources back into the diet. So think quinoa, another great protein source, steel cut oats, Ezekiel bread, brown rice, foods like that.
Thank you.
So if our testosterone is supposed to normally decrease, do you recommend increasing our levels to a certain age point?
Where you were naturally in your 20s and 30s is the optimal range. And so let's start talking about hormones. Okay, so here's an interesting notion. When I just was working in diabetes and metabolism, I viewed the world as anybody that was crabby. I thought, oh, they have low blood sugar. Oh, that's sad. And now anybody that I see that's crabby, I think, oh, they need hormones. So I am 100% zealot, and I can't proselytize enough about how much I believe in the bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It changes people's lives. They feel so much better. So forgive me if I'm overexcited as I keep talking about this. So you go to your gynecologist, you go to your internal medicine doc, and you say, I'm tired all the time. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just want to take a nap in the afternoon. I feel like I'm going to fall asleep even driving home from work. I would rather clean the toilet with my own toothbrush than have sex. I'm hot. I'm hot all the time. I'm sweating so much in the night that I'm having to change my pajamas. I feel like I work out. I work out even more than I ever have before, and I'm not seeing any results. And what is this? This is my favorite thing. They gesture like this to their midsection as though it's an alien being that has attached it. And I think it's legit. It was never there before, and all of a sudden they've got this weight around their middle. And they don't feel good. And so the only thing that the doctors throw at this is say, you're depressed. You're depressed. Let me give you an antidepressant. And guess what antidepressants do? They kill your libido, and they generally are weight promoting. So if you weren't already depressed, that'll send you over the edge. Okay, so I'm not a fan of just treating the symptom. Let's treat the root. So for women, your hormones do start to decline. Some women have, early onset of perimenopause, and then all of a sudden perimenopause is when you're suffering. That's suffering. And then postmenopause is when you're resigned to suffering. Okay? So that's how you can think about this. So there's been a lot of confusion about hormone replacement therapy versus bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, and that's the major thing I want to talk to y'all today about. So the difference between synthetic hormone, which is the one that you've heard about that's scary, the Women's Health Initiative study, they got stopped immediately and abruptly because they showed that these synthetic estrogens were causing estrogen-sensitive cancers, breast cancers. They were increasing the incidence, and so they had to, for ethical reasons, just stop the study cold because it was so compelling, the evidence. The synthetic hormones were created by a pharmaceutical company because, what makes them different is they are not the bioidentical match molecular. So they had to alter it because you can't patent something that nature created, right? You can't claim that was your invention because that's what nature created. So to get a patent, they had to alter it a tiny bit. Well, that tiny bit was a problem. Our bodies didn't know what to do with it. It was a different molecule. So those are the synthetic hormones. They are not identical. The bioidentical hormone are literally the same molecular structure, exactly what your body makes. So we try to get you back to, they come from they don't grow on trees. So they are manufactured, but they're bioidentical. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want you to think that we're just going and digging them up. They're getting created from yams, and your body knows what to do because it's like, oh, I know what this is. This is normal. Yay. Okay. So we try to get people not just to their normal level, because the different hormones that we look at, there's the ranges can be immense. And basically, if you're alive, you're technically in the normal range. Well, yeah, but who wants to just be alive? Don't you want to feel and function your best? So we try to get you at the optimal end of your normal range. Still normal, still physiologic normal, but just at the higher end of normal. So women, I don't think anybody in this room is going to be survived. Men are really simple for hormones. We load them up with testosterone and we send them out the door, and they come back every 6 months. They're really, really easy. Women are complicated, and we're worth it. We have to replace and balance estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone in women. And they all work synergistically together. So I had a life-changing moment when I learned the optimal level for testosterone in women is 60 to 80. Okay? Wait for it. The optimal level for testosterone in men, 1100. Don't you think that explains everything? It's like it all becomes clear, right? So I don't want to. So the men are easy. We just give them testosterone. The women are more complicated. So we look at estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, and we replace those. And we also look at your thyroid, and we optimize your thyroid again, so you can be at the optimal end of the range for your thyroid. And your thyroid controls everything, including metabolism. And gosh darn it, one of the side effects from optimizing it is weight loss. I hate that. So the benefits of BHRT, the bioidentical hormone replacement. I think the biggest thing that people say after they've been optimized, they say, I feel like myself. I feel like myself again. And the improvement in all of these symptoms, and Suzanne Summers named the 7 dwarves of menopause. And so these are the symptoms that get relieved: itchy, bitchy, sleepy, sweaty, bloated, forgetful, and all dried up. So those are the symptoms that get treated when you replace your hormones. Yes, ma'am.
Can you go too far the other way? I'm actually on bioidentical hormone replacement now. I switched doctors. She upped my estrogen and progesterone, and at a 60-year-old age, I got a period. Like, what is the dangers of that? And well, I guess I got this like, is that dangerous to toy with it too far in that way? And like, where is there a balance where you're not in your 20s, where you're actually going to have babies, and you're, in your 60s, where you want to maintain all of those wonderful aspects?
You have to balance the estrogen with the progesterone, and the goal is definitely not for you to have a period.
Yeah.
I know that would scare everybody. Vaginal bleeding can occur with about 30% of women. And it's just from an imbalance between the progesterone and estrogen. So it's, sometimes it takes a little tweaking to get it just right. But I imagine that your physician, when she increased your estrogen, she was trying to get you into that optimal, for all the health preventative benefits. It's no fun. That's the number one call that I get from women is if they have vaginal bleeding. They don't like me at all for about a week. But what we do is we just increase the progesterone, which is an oral pill. You take it at night, and it can help with your sleep dramatically. And you do that for 7 days, and then and I haven't even told you how we deliver the hormones, but at the next time you come to see me, we adjust the dose. So I'll talk to you about the hormones and how we deliver it.
Is this a lifetime therapy?
Yes. So at a bioidentical conference, someone was adamant, like really wanted to know, well, how long do you do this? What's the age? How long can people be on this? And finally, Dr. Rouzier said, fine, if you want a number, 110. So as long as you're feeling benefit, yes, you can you continue on it. So indefinitely. So you get improvement in maintaining your muscle mass, decreasing fat mass, skin integrity, help decrease vaginal atrophy and atrophy of the pelvic floor, which can contribute to uterus prolapse or bladder prolapse. It helps prevent osteoporosis, Alzheimer's disease, cardiovascular disease. Again, because this is our bodies, this is where we were in our 20s and 30s. This is where, and if you think about 20 and 30-year-olds, do they have high risk of Alzheimer's? Nope.
And is it matter when you started? I mean, are you too old at 60 to start?
No, you're not. You're not. The sooner you do it too, when you're the sooner you hit perimenopause and you're having symptoms, the sooner you start, the more long-term preventative benefits you get. But you're never too old to start and start benefiting. My oldest patient so far is an 83-year-old man, and what made him decide to do it was he just found himself not going out as much as he used to. He wasn't leaving the house very much anymore. He wasn't taking showers every day like he used to. He just sort of felt like his verve was, fading. So he started the testosterone replacement, and he's back in business, and he's dating a younger woman who's only 7.
What is the danger correlation between testosterone and prostate cancer?
So testosterone doesn't cause prostate cancer, but if cancer already exists, it can be a fertilizer to it. So in men, we monitor their PSA levels. They have to get annual prostate exams, so we watch that pretty carefully. Yeah.
Same thing with women and estrogen.
Yeah. Right.
So, are you confident that there is not an increased risk of breast cancer, and that estrogen-fed tumors are much more aggressive?
Ovarian as well.
Ovarian.
So the safest course is if you have a strong family history of breast cancer, or you yourself have had breast cancer. You would want to get, and I would want you to get, and I would insist on that we talk to your oncologist and get the blessing from the oncologist. However, it is considered safe if you are cancer-free for 5 years. You've been cancer-free for 5 years. It's considered safe to start the bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. But I feel like healthcare is a team effort, and so and each person's different and their risks are different. So yes, I would certainly check with an oncologist before launching into that. But Europe's been using bioidentical hormone replacement therapy for decades, and there are lots and lots of long-term studies that show no evidence of increased risk of cancer. So the problem is, and I don't mean to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's just the reality. It's same with nutrition. No one really studies the effect of vitamins, because how do you get rich on vitamins? Who's going to pay the multi-million-dollar, double-blind study to look at long-term effects of a vitamin, right? So nutrition is kind of messy in that way as well. No one can get rich off the bioidentical hormone therapy, so there aren't no pharmaceutical companies are spending big dollars to look at it. And but in Europe they certainly have. So I hope that answers that question for you. So testosterone is the hormone of desire, and I have some. That's been some of my favorite conversations I've gotten to have in this job. I had a coworker who started on testosterone, and she said, "Goose, let me just put it this way: we don't go out anymore. We just stay in." That was a good one. I had a woman. She'd been getting hormone replacement, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy for years. With a different doctor, but just geographically it made more sense for her to come see us. And I asked her, I said, well, do you want to change your dose? And she said, well, is it okay that I have sex 3 times a day? And all I could think was, we need to pay you to go do a TV commercial. Yes, ma'am, that is totally fine. You just keep your dose exactly where it is. This was probably my favorite, most gratifying moment yet with the hormone replacement therapy. I saw a woman, and we treated her, and about 6 weeks later, her husband came in to also get treated, and I ran into her, 4 months later, and she said, "You saved my marriage." She said, "We've been married 30 years," and she said, "I was on the verge of leaving because the intimacy had been gone for so long and my husband didn't want to work on it." She said, "Thank you." And she said, "And by the way, we're trying things we've never tried before." So, it felt really good to be able to help people get the intimacy back. So yeah, there's some great quotes that I'm just, I'm going to collect them. I'm just going to write them all down and sell a book about the funny comments I've gotten when people's libido comes back. Okay. Suzanne Summers is a big spokesperson and advocator for the bioidentical hormone. This is actually a really good book. If you're interested in reading one, it's written really nicely. It's easy to read and pretty compelling. So, is it safe? No. So here's this question. Natural estrogen and progesterone are safe and show no increase in breast cancer or heart disease. However, the synthetic hormones that aren't identical do increase the risk of heart disease and cancer. The estrogen-only arm of the Women's Health Initiative demonstrated no increased risk of breast cancer with estrogen. So that didn't make headlines. That's not alarming and scary. The synthetic hormones, that was exciting to put on the front of Time magazine, right? But they didn't say, oh, by the way, the natural estrogens didn't cause it. So in this study from France, of 100,000 menopausal women, all progestins were associated with significant increase in breast cancer, whereas progesterone was neutral. This study demonstrated no risk of breast cancer from progesterone use. That's a pretty large study, 100,000 women. So
how many years was this study?
I don't know actually how long that study lasted. But you're right, because it's...
Well, was it a longitudinal study?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that one. I can get you a copy of it.
So I have a question. So I'm on bioidenticals. They have changed my life. They have a new thing now with the testosterone where you can put into your body. It's I forget what they call
pellets.
it. The pellets. What's your thoughts on that?
That's what we do.
Oh, you do pellets,
that's
not. What's different than that than the creams?
The creams, the absorption can vary. You have to remember to do it.
Yeah.
The pellets get inserted just under your skin and your hip, and it's a slow, steady state release for over 3 months. So that testosterone and estrogen are inserted as a pellet, and the word pellet sounds
It does.
big.
Yeah.
It's smaller than a grain of rice. It's you wouldn't be able to feel it at all once it's inserted. It's tiny, but the word pellet does sound big.
Yeah.
And the advantage is you have a steady state release, and you don't have to think about it. It's just done.
Is it just testosterone and estrogen
Yes.
then?
And then the progesterone you still have to take orally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My happy pill.
Yeah, it's good to hear.
Do you want to talk about
You do want to trust me.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
has changed my life.
That's what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. So this is what your body's molecular. You all remember chemistry, obviously, with the Bunsen burners. Okay, so this is what the molecular structure of progesterone is, and that is exactly the same molecular structure that you take when you take progesterone orally. So it's identical. That's what I'm talking about.
Is there any trouble with taking it orally, like either any of the identical hormones, like I currently take mine orally, and then people talk about liver problems, but if you take it in your skin, someone said it goes through your blood, which goes through your liver anyway,
So when you take something orally, it's called first pass metabolism. So it has to go through your digestive tract and through your liver. And oral testosterone has been shown to potentially have problems with your liver. And it does obviously get into your blood to circulate and reach all the receptors that it needs to, but it doesn't have to go through your GI system, so that's the advantage. And same with the pellets, they don't do first pass metabolism, obviously.
But they can't get progesterone to do that?
I don't know why. I wish so, because it's hard to remember to take a pill every day. I wish that we could do it.
But it makes you sleep, so I don't go without it's my happy pill. I'm not a bitch anymore, and I sleep like nobody's business.
You gotta put that in your book. Never forget that pill.
I'm not a bitch anymore.
I'm a happy person. Oh, it's amazing.
So there are some potential side effects, and breast tenderness that can happen, and it's usually transient. It lasts about a month. Bloating, I can almost guarantee you that it'll happen. Your weight will go up a couple of pounds, but that's testosterone and estrogen just holding on to a little bit of fluid. That goes away. You might have a little bit of facial hair or acne. I haven't had a single woman yet tell me that it was a deal breaker. It's like a couple of chin hairs, and they say, well, I'm already plucking a couple of chin hairs anyway, it doesn't matter. It's certainly not a big deal. But it could, you have to list it. All right, and then we already talked about the vaginal bleeding that's, makes people very unhappy. You saved my life, you saved my marriage. This is a miracle. I feel like myself again. Daily, we spend 75% of our healthcare dollars on chronic diseases that are preventable.
There's a question.
Oh, yes.
Has there ever been a study on, because a lot of this is water retention, hot flashes, sweating, on the use of water as hydrating? Most women don't drink enough water, or exercising, sweating, taking saunas. I take a lot of saunas, I exercise every day, and menopause lasts 1 day.
Oh, that's good.
I guess.
I don't know.
But I wonder if there's ever been a study, because I told my doctor, he goes, do you need to be on anything? I said, no, I don't have it, but I sweat a lot. So I'm curious if there's ever been a study on that. Because a lot of this is water retention and hydration, and there's some water element there.
So hot flashes and night sweats are mostly declining estrogen are the triggers for that. And so even if I give someone who is having night sweats or hot flashes, I give them a very, very low dose of estrogen. They stop, within a couple of weeks. So I don't know in terms of the hydration part what role that plays.
Have you noticed women that are more athletic, that tend to sweat and push their body to eliminating water, I wonder if there's
It didn't work for me.
Huh?
It didn't work for me.
It didn't work for you.
Yeah, but I
can try exercising, but 13 hours a day.
You drink water and sweat when you exercise.
Yeah.
That is good.
I was at gym for a long time.
No,
But some people do it.
Yeah, I stopped.
It's just like something out there that
And I exercised.
Does So you guys provide the hormones, is it covered in insurance? I know the pellets aren't, but how do you guys handle that?
We are switching electronic medical records, and hopefully that will allow us to try to bill insurance for coverage. And it just depends on the plan. You know, I mean, just it's so varied as to what might. But you could use your flexible spending account dollars for it, which.
Oh, I was just wondering, how would you compare it to like the Val dots or something that you with patches that?
You know, that they work, but they work less reliably because it depends on how if you remember to put on the patch, you know what the adhesion looks like, how your skin absorbs it, and so the pellets are more of a steady state release and mimics what your body's doing because it's just a constant steady state release. But yeah, they work. Yeah.
Do you ever test somebody and then recommend they not do anything?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I do.
How often do you have to go once you get tests?
Every 3 months you come back for a pellet insertion. Okay. Yeah. So I have to say it is it's wonderful. It's a wonderful job, and it feels wonderful to go to work every day. I feel like Tigger in the morning. I love it because so few things in medicine. Do you go and someone says I can fix it, but that's you lay down for 10 minutes and I have fixed it. You know, we might have to tweak it to get it just right, but I've started the fix right there, and you didn't do it. You didn't have to do anything. I love that. It's really, really fun. But every 3 months for women and every 6 months for men.
I heard the Housewives, I think it was the New York Housewives, talking about pellets, and I didn't know what it was, so now I know, thank you. And they're raving about it, obviously.
Good. So we have brochures and information if you want to learn more about it. But I think my time is up.
You can add phone or email, and we can reach out to you too with more information. I'm in our Laurel Heights location, so we're the corner of Sacramento and Laurel.
Okay. What other locations do you have in the Bay Area?
So are you looking North Bay, East Bay, South Bay? We have Greenbrier, and Marin, and that's the furthest north. We have Walnut Creek and Piedmont. We have downtown.
And you said you're in Laurel Village?